Breathless by Jean-Luc Godard and Pulp Fiction by Quentin Tarantino are two films which exhibit auteur theory. Pulp Fiction's context deals with social issues in the United States, while Breathless is centered around the economic and social hardships in France during the French New Wave. These two films are highly appropriate for comparison because Tarantino used Godard's Breathless as an inspiration for Pulp Fiction. Now let's look at how these two films adhere to the criteria for auteur theory. The American film critic Andrew Sarris is most notably known for creating the criteria for auteur theory. In his notes on the auteur theory in 1962, Sarris states, "The three premises of the auteur theory may be visualized as three concentric circles: the outer as technique, the middle circle personal style, and the inner circle interior meaning. The corresponding roles of the director may be designated to those as a technician, a stylist, and an auteur." The first criteria can be seen throughout Breathless, as Godard commonly uses several techniques. An example of this is Godard's innovative use of a wheelchair in replacement of a dolly. In this shot, the camera operator follows the actors. This technique is used many times throughout Breathless. The extensive use of this technique helps to demonstrate Godard's auteurship, as it was his decision to use this technique and incorporate innovative solutions to his minimal budget. Godard was also a pioneer of the French New Wave. His auteurship can also be seen in the way that he's broken many rules of cinema, as seen in this shot where Michael talks directly to the camera.
Si vous n'aimez pas la ville,
Here's another fourth wall break, which is a newly created technique during the French New Wave.
j'ai envie de dormir.
Additionally, an unusual technique used by Godard is the use of mise-en-scène in the form of signs to further the film's narrative structure. These unusual techniques demonstrate Godard's auteurship by creating a distinction between Godard and other directors of the time, as the audience is able to tell what director they are watching purely through their use of innovative techniques. Similarly, Quentin Tarantino also uses rule-breaking and unusual techniques. Pulp Fiction opens with the definition of the word pulp. The two definitions both stand true, as Pulp Fiction is both shapeless in its non-chronological order, and it contains lurid subject matter, especially violence. Tarantino intentionally creates discontinuity by avoiding establishing shots, as seen in the first shot of the film.
Forget it. It's too risky.
The film opens in the middle of a conversation, instantly grabbing the audience's attention, making them wonder, what's too risky? Tarantino also creates discontinuity by avoiding chronology. For example, the first scene of the film is also the last.
Restaurants, on the other hand, you catch with their pants down. They're not expecting to get robbed.
The subversion of chronology demonstrates Tarantino's directorial influence on the film by being able to make impactful decisions to dramatically shape the film.
I think we should be leaving now.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Additionally, Tarantino uses cinematography and editing techniques to convey particular emotions and moods which captivate the audience. This scene includes a montage of several close-ups depicting Vincent's heroin injection. Lighting is used to create an orange hue. This is coupled with a tight depth of field and rhythmic dreamy music, which conveys Vincent's relaxed and euphoric experience. Tarantino also conveys emotion in this scene, where Vincent is giving Mia an adrenaline shot.
All right, count to three. All right, ready? 1.
Tarantino uses close-ups with a slight zoom to build up suspense.
2.
This gives the audience the feeling of what it's like to be within this life or death situation, and the lack of sound in this moment adds to the tension between the characters.
3!
Tarantino uses these emotion-driving techniques to captivate the audience, to appeal to the movie-going experience, as Tarantino himself is an avid moviegoer. Another recurring technique in Pulp Fiction is the use of internal perspective shots, or a trunk shot. This shot has become a trademark of Tarantino, as he uses it in many of his films. A similar technique can be seen here, where Tarantino uses a low angle and an internal perspective from within the car. Ultimately, the techniques used by Tarantino and Godard help to develop their individual directorial styles, making them stand out and be recognizable as a Godard or Tarantino production. This leads us into the second criteria of being an auteur, personal style. Godard believed that, like action painting, he felt a film reflected the conditions under which it was made, and that a director's technique was a method by which a film could be made personal. This can be seen in the writing of Breathless. Instead of writing Breathless in pre-production, Godard wrote Breathless day by day on the set, allowing the actors to improvise. This directorial choice allowed Godard to constantly be able to adapt his film, making it more reflective of his personal vision. However, this decision was confusing to the actors, as they often forgot their lines.
Il y a quelque chose chez vous que j'aime, mais je ne sais pas quoi. Je voudrais qu'on soit Romeo et Juliette.
Oh là là.
As seen here, Godard uses editing and post-production to fix the actors' mistakes. as Romeo and Juliet was not set in the original footage. Additionally, personal style can be seen in Godard's rule-breaking editing, which can be seen when Michael shoots a cop in the fast-paced sequence of shots. Godard had to cut down the original length of the film all the way down to 1 hour and 30 minutes. He did this through an extensive use of jump cuts and by breaking traditional continuity similar to Tarantino. The same rapid succession of shots can be seen in this scene. Similar to Godard, Tarantino also wrote his screenplay. He is known for his witty dialogue, and that makes up part of his personal style.
And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
One of the most notable and prominent features of a Tarantino film is his portrayal of violence.
That God came down from heaven and stopped.
Oh, what the fuck's happening? Oh,
man.
shit, man.
Oh man, I shot Marvin in the face.
Tarantino chooses to portray violence in a highly realistic and gruesome way. This also reflects the context under which Pulp Fiction was made, as in America during this time, gangs became entrenched in communities throughout the nation, and gang-related violence and drug trafficking became fully ingrained in suburban areas throughout the 1990s.
Oh, fuck me. Fuck me. Oh, come on, girl. We're getting out of here. We gotta walk now.
Furthermore, both directors handpicked their actors. This adds another layer of personal style in that the film is able to be true to the director's vision, and both of these directors are able to create memorable and distinct characters, which is furthered by the interior meaning of Breathless, which is the final criteria for being an auteur. Interior meaning is reflected through the film's themes and the intent of the director. Godard conveys the theme of existentialism, such as stressing the individual's importance over society's rules and the evident absurdity of life.
Oui, j'en ai marre. Je suis fatigué. J'ai envie de dormir.
This theme can be seen in Michael's constant avoidance of the cops until he is eventually betrayed by Patricia, and society's rules have finally caught up to him as he is shot and killed by the cops. Michael then realizes the evident absurdity of life.
C'est vraiment dégueulasse.
In addition, interior meaning can be seen in Godard's influences and intentions in making Breathless. In this shot, we see a girl holding up a magazine called the Cahiers du Cinéma, which Godard was an editor for prior to being a filmmaker. Godard was also massively influenced by American cinema, as seen in Michael's costume design resembling an American gangster. Breathless is an orchestrated dialogue between two worlds, a world of stylized Hollywood romanticism and the everyday world of banal, uncinematic life. As seen in the mise-en-scène of the grimy and chaotic streets of Paris, Godard intentionally chose to shoot in actual settings, adding to the realism of Breathless. It's Godard's careful counterpoint between these two styles that helped him tease out a French attitude and gave the movie its relentless drive. On the other hand, Pulp Fiction's interior meaning differs in that Tarantino's intent was to create a film for the moviegoer. He said, "When people ask me if I went to film school, I tell them no. I went to films." Tarantino makes films to intrigue and captivate the viewer, his younger self. He does this particularly well in Pulp Fiction with his disorienting chronology and the development of mysterious elements such as the briefcase. Tarantino's intent to create mystery revolving around the film's symbolism furthers the discussion about the film, adding to its longevity. Pulp Fiction's interior meaning also lies within its inspirations. Perhaps no director owes a greater debt to Breathless than the American Quentin Tarantino, whose films offer a virtual homage to Godard's masterpiece, including loquacious, wonderful tough guys, stylish but insecure anti-heroes, immoral women, philosophical musings, and meandering plots. In fact, this scene was inspired by Godard's film Band of Outsiders. All in all, both Godard and Tarantino demonstrate their auteurship in both of these films. Clearly, as seen in both directors, an essential part of being an auteur is being involved in the entire filmmaking process. Both of these directors fit into the criteria of an auteur, as seen in their technique, personal style, and interior meaning. Godard's technique is infused with the rule-breaking nature of the French New Wave, and both of these directors use their technique to further their interior meaning, as Tarantino intrigues and captivates the audience through his creation of iconic and memorable scenes, while Godard appeals to the French film critics' pursuit for auteurship during the 1960s, as Godard also was a French film critic prior to being a filmmaker. Furthermore, both directors' personal styles heavily impacted their films, as seen in both directors' devotion to all stages of the production process. Lastly, these directors' auteurship can be seen in their interior meaning in the way they influenced and were influenced by cinema. Godard wanted to reinvent cinema in order to liberate it. Breathless, he said, was a sort of film where anything goes. That was what it was all about. Like Jean-Luc Godard, the auteur who influenced him, Tarantino plays with cinematic conventions, breaks rules with an archaic energy, and makes game-changing films.
You're the weak, and I'm the tyranny of
of evil men.